Now the second part of this is that it's very intriguing. Buddha had this intriguing problem. As he sat down to pierce through the riddle of life, the riddle of existence, he evolved that causal chain or causal link which is called as a 12-fold link, technically called as Praticca Samutpada, the 12-fold causal links, one leading to the other. Beginning from avidya, ignorance, which is the first aspect of the link. And avidya or ignorance, in the course of its various links, brings about step by step, gets evolved into this situation called your physical body, your senses, your physical body. And then once you have had this body with the senses, you come in contact with the world, obtain impressions, and go through karmas. Thereafter you become old, and then death takes place, and having died you get born again, along with ignorance, which is self-evident. So in this causal link, he began with ignorance and came down the line, through ignorance, came down the line of your human existence. And then once again ended up in ignorance. He was wondering, what is this? We begin with ignorance and end up with ignorance. End up with ignorance. But this ignorance is very enigmatic. There's a mystery behind it. There is a mystery behind it. Now, in the Zen tradition, or prior to that, what did Buddha do? He said, I will pierce, until and unless I get enlightened to the final truths of life, I will sit down under the Bo tree. I will sit down under the Bo tree and will not get up till I get enlightened to the truths of life. So he sat down and made a strong will with respect to this, and with great effort he sat down. Now in the meantime, he had gone through all his earlier practices and attained to a state or a frame of mind and a frame of being wherein he was clear of all human emotions, human passions, and his mind had become still because he had undergone that training and practice over the last few years. So he was able to sit down firmly with all his will, he sat down. And then, since he was at peace with himself, no emotional and psychological disturbances were there, he was able to intensely focus himself upon this ignorance avidya, which was the root cause of the whole problem. Because it was a circle. It began with avidya, ignorance, the whole process, and ends up there. In ignorance. So therefore, he silently sat down, and became very still, very quiet, and intensely focused. And then, as he was there, with such intense focus, supreme will, then one fine day, the breakthrough happened. He had sat for a number of days, and it happened. On a full moon night, it happened. And he got enlightened. That process is going to be indicated to you in the next three factors of the Eightfold Path. Samyak Vyama, Samyak Sati, and Samyak Samadhi. The three get incorporated into one aspect. Now, in the Zen tradition, there are four beautiful statements which contains the essence of Zen. It says the first statement is a transmission without the scriptures. First statement. That means there is no need for the scriptures. Transmission without it. No dependence on words and letters. Because sometimes people are dependent on these so-called mantras, isn't it? Words and letters. They resort to them. But when you do that, the stillness goes away. So no dependence on words and letters. Then the third statement is directly pointing to the soul of man. Directly pointing at the soul of man. And the fourth is seeing into one's nature and becoming a Buddha. Seeing into one's nature and becoming a Buddha. So there is a seeing involved there. Seeing into one's nature. Now here, these three, the 6th, 7th and 8th, right, which is called the right effort. The right effort. Samyak Vyama is the right effort. 7th is Samyak Sati, right mindfulness. And 8th is Samyak Samadhi. Samadhi means mystic absorption. Or a mystical state, mystic absorption. Mystically, totally absorbed. These three together form one unit. Right effort, the word Samyak Vyama, right effort, with your will, you got it. So Buddha also made that strong will and focused himself Totally. So that focused awareness is Samyak Sati. Focused awareness. Seventh one is focused. Samyak Sati. So with all his will in command, with all his mental strength, because a weak person cannot realize the divine, cannot get enlightened. You must be strong from within. Strong, mentally strong. You must be strong as a person, psychologically strong, morally strong. Moral strength gives you the inner strength. So that is why one has to initially lead a moral life of being correct, just and good, which gives you the inner strength. And this inner strength is called the soul force. So you need the soul force or the inner strength to be so supremely focused with all your being, with all your capacity. Upon what? With all your capacity. Into that state wherein you know nothing. Avidya, ignorance. In ignorance, do you know anything? You do not. So in that nothingness, that unknowing state, because it's an unknowing state, you don't know anything there. In that unknowing state, you are now totally focused there. And in order to be so totally focused, you are bringing about your entire will, effort and will to be so focused. So it's a combination of three factors involved. One is the will, which is enabling you to be so focused in that, where? In that state wherein you know nothing. When the state wherein you know nothing is a state. When you know nothing, it is ignorance. It is ignorance. You arrive at that state. You arrive at that. And in that unknowingness, the state of unknowingness. So, in that unknown state where there is nothing to know, you have entered, so to say, a tunnel in which there is darkness. There is nothing there. There is darkness there. There is total darkness. And you must have that strength and the will to be in this state until you arrive at the light. Until you arrive at the light. Haven't you heard of that expression? The light at the end of the tunnel. That is a very profound, mystical statement. Mystical. So you have to enter this tunnel of darkness. This darkness. Where nothing is known, nothing is. And you also have to become nothing. You have to become nothing in this state. And in this state, so you lose. You forget yourself. You forget yourself. And remain in this state. And then you have now got into, when you are so absorbed in this state, then what happens is you begin to forget yourself. You begin to forget your human self, your human individuality. And then you begin to forget. You become oblivious to your surroundings. So when you become oblivious to your surroundings, wherein you know not whether it's hot or whether it's cold, whether it is summer or winter, you have become totally oblivious to it, to the surrounding world. And you are totally focused here. Now you have entered samadhi. This is what is called as samadhi. Wherein you are mystically absorbed in this state. Totally absorbed here. And as you keep on moving into this, gradually this state becomes more and more intense, more and more intense. And then finally one fine day, the breakthrough will take place. The breakthrough. And you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. When that happens, you have got enlightenment. You have got enlightenment. This is what happened to Lord Buddha. And this is what will happen to each and every one who aspires to this state. To this state.